Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of White Point. My name is Harshit, and I'm the Director of Business Alliances at White House. We are a national agency specializing in SaaS and e-commerce SEO. I've got Stephanie with me today. She's the VP of Marketing at Talent Desk. It's a SaaS platform enabling businesses to organize, pay, and scale their freelance teams, and all from one place. So, a big welcome to you, Stephanie. I'm so happy to have you with me today.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Right. Now, can you please let our viewers know a little bit about your background and your professional journey so far?
Sure. My background's always been in marketing, from sort of media companies to then the startup world. And the last 4 years, I've been sort of part of the Talent Desk team. And the last 2 years, I've been running marketing for Talent Desk. So yeah, primarily running things around inbound marketing, but most recently getting more involved in outbound marketing as well and sales. So I can talk a little bit about that. I think some of your questions might touch on that as well.
Okay, now let's talk Talent Desk. Can you provide an overview of the platform and its freelancer management system? And also, let's talk about the USPs of the platform as well. What sets it apart from the competition out there in the market?
Sure. I'll start with the latter, actually, what sets us apart. And I think it's relevant to our brand or founding story. The founding team of Talent Desk is basically the same as peopleperhour.com, which is a freelancer marketplace that's based in the UK, but they're very big across Europe. So effectively, the founding team has been in the freelancer space for the last almost, I would say, 18 years now. And I think that's what kind of sets Talent Desk apart as well, because it was very much started with the freelancer space in mind. We see a lot of solutions in the space that are doing everything. So they're employee payroll, but they're also freelancer focused. Whereas our platform was built for businesses that rely heavily on freelancers. So I think that's what the differentiating factor is.
Okay. And in fact, while you're answering this question, I would love to understand in depth your target ICPs, please.
Sure. So exactly based on what I just said, our target audience are basically businesses that fundamentally function because of their external workforce, because of their freelancers and contractors. So typically it's businesses like e-learning companies, again, by the nature of what they do. Most of the tutors, educators, content creators, whatever you want to call them, they are basically freelancers. They're independent contractors. They work independently and they're typically paid by the hour, by the lesson, by the day. Yeah. So that is one core vertical for us. Another one is media companies and agencies. Again, by nature of what they do, they employ a lot of sort of content writers, video editors, content creators, marketers. And I do have to say, with COVID and remote work becoming the norm, there's more and more businesses that have sprung up that are using contractors on a more ad hoc or more flexible basis, because everyone is now based remotely. Companies have realized that they can hire remotely. I think our ICP is expanding, but we do still see fundamentally these businesses that have freelancers at their core having the biggest pain points. So for that reason, they make up our target ICP. Consulting businesses as well, tech companies as well. But I would say the two biggest sort of verticals are e-learning and media companies. And the sort of key decision maker that comes looking for Talent Desk, or that we try to approach, are people in operations, so people ops, talent acquisition people, HR, of course, so people dealing with sort of the onboarding and compliance side of things, but also financial controllers and accounting directors, because again, payment is another thing that we solve for.
And what size of business do you mainly market to, or your content is articulated in a way to cater to that audience?
We target it to all sizes. So we've got companies that we classify as startups all the way to enterprise clients. What I will say is that the bigger the business, the bigger the problem, and the faster they grow, the bigger the problem. So we do tend to see high growth startups, if you like, or tech companies, and the more enterprise side of businesses definitely being our target audience and having the most sort of admin around freelancer management.
Interesting. And you mentioned a very good point. A lot of, in fact, brands that I've seen, specifically catering to global audience, now have started even hiring local talents across globe, and all possible because of this remote work culture, all of those things happening. So I'm sure, like, and they basically hire on contract basis. So a good fit for you. Okay. So now let's talk about SEO being one of, and you're primarily involved into your SEO operations. I would love to know what strategies have been really helpful in scaling your organic visibility via SEO. And yeah, if you can share some of the winning strategies, please go ahead.
Sure. I think for me, the biggest winning strategy of SEO is just writing content that you've got expertise in. So that's always been our strategy. We do, of course, monitor sort of competitor landscape and high volume search terms. We've got an agency that we work with, and of course, we do that side of things. But I will have to say, I think there's no better way of creating content for SEO than just thinking about what your clients would want to learn more about. What are they struggling about? Prospective clients, of course, as well. But so to give you an example, we know that we, like I mentioned before, we work with a lot of e-learning companies. We know that there are certain pain points that are particular to that industry, or there are certain trends that are particular to that industry. As long as we're in a write good content around those, that is something that we always aim for. And of course, creating guides and downloadable materials, things that can add value to our existing clients, but also our prospective customers, is the best strategy for SEO, in my opinion.
That actually makes sense. And in fact, after Google's update, the EAT update, they made it more evident. Although people in the industry knew this, that if you're building an authority within a specific niche, it really helps you scale and better. So I think HubSpot talked long back before this update even came out, having the pillar page clusters around it, all of those stuff. Yeah, it definitely works. I would love to understand your approach to generating new content as well. How do you proceed? Like how the ideation happens, and if you're using or leveraging any tools for the purpose, please share those details out.
Sure. I can't speak to specific tools because we do have an agency that sort of have their own tools that they bring on board when we do think about what to write about. It's definitely a process, though, of looking at competitor landscape, looking what content is doing well for us, and thinking about what related content we can expand on. It's about looking at trends and things, let's say a particular legislation for freelancers. Has this come into effect? We always try and keep on top of these things so that we write relevant content, things that are informative to people that might not be aware of something that's changed, but also building on our existing sort of pillars, if you like, and just adding things that contribute to content gaps around those main topics.
No, that's amazing. Are you doing anything around your offsite strategies, any activities or any campaign to gain quality links back to your domain and stuff like that? Can you put?
Yeah, it's a very relevant question because it's something that we are doing more of at the moment. It wasn't part of our core content strategy, but as you've mentioned with Google's latest updates, domain authority and backlinks are becoming increasingly important. Again, we don't want to be one of those websites where we just try and buy a ton of backlinks or just say yes to anyone offering them to us. We definitely don't buy backlinks. It's not in our strategy.
Yeah.
But we are trying to build. Sorry?
Even Google hates it. Google doesn't paid backlinks or anything that carries tags which kind of indicate that this has been purchased. It's pretty clear on the guidelines. Yeah.
Exactly. You can't get away with it anyway, but it's not something that's in our ethos as well. So we've always tried to get organic backlinks. So, for example, leveraging our own network, our own partners, our own clients, offering sort of case studies and things like that. So things where we can actually get links back from relevant sources of companies that we do work with. But of course, we're also on the lookout of any content that we think might be relevant to linking back to Talent Desk, and we do reach out. But I would say the number one backlink strategy is our network at the moment.
Okay, which makes sense. Well, let's get back to platform. I would love to understand how does the platform streamlines the freelancers' workflow from onboarding to payments. And could you share some specific examples? Because I see very good numbers on your website: 70% less admin, 99% fewer payments, and all those things. Some very promising metrics. So could you please explain that process?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll start with the payments. It's usually the most simple to explain. We offer automation around global payments. That effectively means that companies get the best rates because we obviously do volume payments. We've got a lot of different payment partners like Wise and Payoneer and PayPal and Revolut. And so we're able to offer the very competitive rates on global payments through that. So companies save a lot of money from that primarily. But the biggest benefit around payments is that it's all automated. So we've got the tools in place through our platform for automated time tracking. So depending on the hourly rate or the daily rate, whatever it is, contractors can basically track their time. That time gets converted into invoices and you can set different level of approval. So that's a different story. But the gist of it is that this automation around time tracking converts work into payments at a click. And then we offer consolidated invoicing. So for businesses that work with, let's say, 100 contractors that invoice once a week, because a lot of businesses want to pay their contractors on a regular basis, that's 400 invoices alone just for those 100 contractors. Now, we work with businesses that have 1,000 contractors and upwards. So you can imagine the level of admin that comes with dealing with all those invoices, from inputting payment details to tracking the payments, making sure it reaches them on time. It's very admin heavy. And so what we do is we automate all of that. So we collect the contractor's payment details and we've got our AML checks and everything in place so that it's a very hassle-free and compliant process. And then the end client receives one consolidated invoice with, of course, all the granularity that they want. So they've got all the information that they can also input into their accounting software. That's all there. But ultimately, it's one invoice and it's one amount to pay to us. And then we automate and manually as well check all of the individual payments that need to be done to their contractors. So that explains, I hope, the 99% fewer payments. Let's say you have 100 invoices a month. Actually, with Talentus, you'll have only one to pay. So that's a huge time saving. And then the admin stat, of course, is very relevant to payments again, because it relieves businesses of a lot of the admin around payments and particularly finance teams. But it also relieves a lot of other stakeholders in that you don't have to do the manual back and forth. What is this cost in relation to? What is this invoice in relation to? It's all synced on the platform. You can download CSVs with your particular project codes and you can import them into your accounting software or your own systems. It accounts for the visibility across teams that can be easily shared, and different people can also be added to, obviously, the projects on the platform and track everything on dashboards. That it streamlines all of that. But that's not the only sort of admin that we take away from the equation, because onboarding contractors, especially for businesses that have a significant number of them, is very admin heavy in a lot of ways from onboarding. So collecting all the right tax forms, all the right information, running compliance and verification tests, creating a database that's searchable of your talent so that you can easily find the right people for work, allocating that work, collaborating and sharing deliverables and tracking milestones. All of that, basically from the onboarding stage to the work management side, all through to time tracking and payments and reporting, it's all streamlined on one platform. It does save a lot of admin, it saves a lot of time, but it also saves businesses having different tools, which we all know they're quite costly. It saves businesses from having a ton of different tools to do what one platform can effectively do. And like I said before, it's been built specifically for businesses with a large number of freelancers. Yeah, it's been years in the making, and we've got a product now that honestly our customers swear by, and they're the ones that are telling us that they're saving upwards of 70% on freelancer related admin and a lot of money as well at the same time.
That's brilliant, actually. And that's a very good strategy as well, product wise, offering all in one solution under one platform. For the fact that nowadays, even as I'm seeing tons of SaaS solutions just to manage a company's hundreds of
Exactly.
solutions to multiple tools out there. Yeah, that's a good USP that you have. Amazing. Okay, let's talk about the other channels apart from SEO that you leverage for your traffic generation, for your brand visibility, for your lead generation, all of those things. Could you please expand on that?
Sure, definitely Google AdWords. We run sort of keyword campaigns, as I think any business does. So we've been doing that for a few years now, and it is a constant stream of leads, but we're now focusing our efforts more on very industry specific marketing.
Are you using AdWords for both lead generation, your remarketing? Like what sort of campaigns are it? Okay.
We're doing both. We're doing Google Display Network, awareness and remarketing, and we're doing Google search as well.
Gotcha.
And then we're doing a lot of, like I said, brand awareness campaigns, some vertical focused approaches as well. So we're targeting the particular ICP that I mentioned earlier on this call with informational content. So things like brochures or generally informative content that we know are relevant to that industry. So we're doing lead generation campaigns on that side of things, but we're also doing email outreach to our relevant target audience, basically.
Nice. Okay. And what are the main KPIs that you keep track of to measure the success of your marketing campaigns and even ensuring that it aligns well with your marketing goals and your overall business objectives?
Sure. I mean, we definitely track traffic, of course, and things like engagement and average time on site. Ultimately, if you don't get the conversions, I think those are a little bit irrelevant. So I would say the number one KPI from the marketing side is lead generation. So that includes relevant people downloading your content that you can then nurture and reach out to. But of course, people filling in forms on our website. So direct call to actions like book a demo, book a call. Yeah, we're constantly monitoring and optimizing our campaigns for conversions. But we're also looking at things like, are we reaching the relevant audience with these campaigns? So if we're targeting media companies, are we actually getting traffic from media companies? So there's a lot going on in terms of tracking our KPIs.
Okay. And what analytics do you primarily use for this tracking?
Sure. We use, of course, our website sits on HubSpot. So we do actually use HubSpot for a lot of our tracking.
Yeah.
We've got GA4 as well, of course, set up. We do have intent tools. So we actually use a tool called Snitcher. It's a little bit like the Clearbits of the world that shows you what types of companies or what specific companies come to your platform. Obviously, you don't get personal data or anything like that, but you are able to track the companies visiting your website back to their campaigns. So I think, off the top of my head, those are the 3 or 4. And of course, Google Search Console for the organic side.
Yeah.
Those are the main ones, I'd say.
Okay. Anything that you're doing for your, for specific to SEO, for your rank tracking, stuff like that, is it something that you take care of or your agency that you've hired, manages for you?
Yes, I think our agency is using SEMrush specifically to get the insights on SEO. Yeah.
Can you share a customer success story where the platform and your marketing effort, played a crucial role in addressing clients' need, and how exactly your marketing team leverages a positive client experience for your brand promotions?
Sure. I'd say obviously marketing is the first step in getting a prospect. Obviously, sales team and the customer success team take over from that point onwards, but then ultimately a lot of the relationship then comes back to marketing. So if you do look at our customers page, you'll see that we've got clients that we've had for 4 or 5 years, and they actually give us repeat testimonials, and every time it changes. An example of that is one of our consulting clients that are based in Germany called A-Train. And so they've been with Talentless for a while, and every time we update our customer testimonial with them, they've got something new to share about how Talentless is making their life easier as they grow. So that's always great to hear. Another one is your Monitor International, it's a big sort of market research company. And then we've got e-learning companies like Memrise and Mind Valley, who've also been with us for a while, who've been very kind to give us sort of consistent testimonials, again, about how we're reducing admin and freeing up their time. One particular example, I think maybe to your point about the fewer payments, a good example of the way that we solve for that is through this language app called Memrise, who's a global company. We spoke to them, and it was interesting to hear that their financial controller, so obviously a very senior person, was actually manually sorting out invoices for contractors or freelancers every end of month. So that's expensive time right there. I think he mentioned a stat like 20 hours of his month would go on to literally manually approving payments and inputting payment details. The point being, that's obviously a big cost to the company, and it could have been time better spent on more important things. Not that payments aren't important, but when you've got a tool to automate that and make sure that people are getting paid on time in a much more efficient way, then that definitely is important time freed up. And yeah, we're constantly speaking to our customers. I think it's twofold. We want to speak to our customers to get material, so case studies that we can promote and videos that we promote on LinkedIn and in all our sort of acquisition efforts. But I also think it's very important to speak to our customers from a marketing standpoint, because if you don't understand what the benefit is for your customers, then you can't really sell to new customers. So it's very important for us to have that relationship.
And you mentioned that you're actively looking into the outbound efforts as well that your team is making. I would love to understand on those. What all channels are you leveraging for those outbound efforts, and what's really working, in your favor?
Sure. Well, I think every company out there is doing mass volume. The problem is that with AI as well, everybody's doing more and more of it. So it's hard. We've been doing it for years. We've tried many different things, and it's important to keep testing. I think, again, for me, the thing that we've seen work is giving value to people rather than going in straight for a sell. It's very hard to just say, look, this is what we do. Are you interested? Sometimes that works, of course, when you hit the nail on the head, but it takes a bit of a trial and error, and it's probabilistically not going to happen very often that you hit the nail on the head with that message. So what we're trying is to it's a genuine effort to build relationships with our target audience, offering them something, content or guidance or information, and from there on trying to build a relationship, and hopefully that converts into them wanting to use our software. But I think it's less about let's try and book meetings this way, and more about let's generate value, let's make people aware of who we are and what we do, and let's hope that in time they'll convert.
So are you doing like cold emails, calling as well? What's the strategy?
It's mostly email.
Email. It's actually getting tougher, and especially bulk emailers with these new updates coming out. Gmail launched it starting Feb, and Yahoo being both. So, are there any specific challenges that, in fact, you as a company are also facing? And if so, like, how did you overcome those? Bad open rates, a lot of messages landing on
Of
spam,
course.
maybe getting logged, right? So, yeah.
Of course, I think, again, every company is familiar with the pains of mass volume. We've used a ton of different tools in the past.
I'm sure you're not leveraging HubSpot because
No.
Yeah.
We did use HubSpot at some point when we were doing everything in-house and internally before we automated everything. I actually don't remember the name of the tools that we used afterwards, but we used a couple of different sales tools and companies, domain warm-ups, all of that kind of stuff. I'll say that the things that we maybe saw success with 2-3 years ago are not necessarily the things that I think you'd see success in today. And again, it's because things have changed. Before, you used to be able to send huge emails. The more informative, the better, because people were not getting that many emails. So they'd probably have the capacity to digest it more. Now, I don't know, I'm speaking about myself as well, but I've got very limited attention span. So if you don't tell me what your point is within the first 2 lines of an email, I'm just going to delete it. And so I think that's what iteration comes down to, just constantly becoming more succinct, more to the point with what you're trying to say in the email, whether it's you're trying to sell them something or whether you're trying to offer them something. I think it's the same sort of strategy. And with open rates, yes, again, it's a trial and error. We see different things work at different times. So sometimes we see really huge subject lines work and deliver high open rates. Sometimes we see 2-word subject lines being more effective. It depends on your audience. There's nothing that I can really say to, and I don't want to give like the wrong advice, because I think it's very specific to your audience.
Yeah.
And you've just got to test it. You've just got to test it for your ICP and A/B tests and test different messages to different decision makers. And obviously, the more you do, the more insights you'll have into what's working.
Again, and since you are leveraging both paid as well as organic channel, I would love to understand, how do you balance organic and paid strategies in your marketing budget? How exactly does that happen, please?
We're generally very accurate. Yeah, I'd say organic is mostly in-house at the moment. We do have an agency. We do get advice from a lot of different sort of experts. But ultimately, again, I think we are the ones who know what kind of content will resonate with our customers and with our prospective customers. So most of the content ideas and the briefs and all of that comes from ourselves. And that's ongoing. It's not that we have a fixed number that we need to do every month. It's more, this is relevant, let's get this out as soon as possible. There's some slower months and faster months. So that's how it is with content, and we're very sensible with our budgets. Like I said, we try and do as much in-house as possible. And then we just have sort of an agency for the more technical expertise that's needed. And then for paid marketing, it's the same. We can see that the market is, and I'm sure, again, all software companies are experiencing the same thing. It's getting more and more competitive. Yeah, there are some companies that can obviously afford to pump out a huge ton of cash into marketing. But for us, we are just trying to get the customers that are really close to what we do. Like I said before, e-learning companies, media companies, agencies. I think consulting firms, we solve the problem really well for those types of clients. So we're trying to focus our marketing dollars on those industries in particular.
Gotcha. Any specific challenge that you would like to highlight that you might have overcome in the past? It could be around SEO, could be around your paid strategies, and that you actually surpass those challenges, overcome those challenges, and with flying colors, please.
Sure. I mean, there's always challenges. We've got challenges now. We had challenges last year. There's always challenges. And I think that's what's nice about marketing, that's personally what I love about marketing. It's an always changing environment, and you always have to keep on top of it and find new ways of surpassing those challenges. Specific challenge, I think we see different challenges in every step of the journey. So sometimes when you're just starting out, you don't have that brand awareness. So it's very difficult to get that first set of customers. Then the more you grow, the more credibility you have. We've now got very big logos on our website, and big logos in each vertical that we're targeting. So that's a great source of credibility. But at the same time, a challenge is that businesses are inundated with software. It's been a very difficult economic year, at least in 2023, where the pain points were still there, but just getting that approval over the finish line for most businesses was a tougher challenge. So I think for us, the challenge is just basically identifying more and more of these key customers and hoping that things will move faster in 2024, because I don't think they moved very fast for anybody in 2023, at least in our specific space, or our size, I should say, rather than our space. So we're constantly innovating. We're constantly trying to find new ways of reaching our target audience, of using our customers and these big logos and our testimonials in showing prospects how we would solve that problem for them. Ultimately, we are a cost saving and efficiency tool, but it's not always easy to get businesses to see that, because obviously there is a subscription, there is a fee. And when budgets are very tight, a lot of companies, even the very big companies, find it very difficult to justify spend on new software, especially because they have a ton of software. So I think what our biggest challenge is to try and show that actually the return of investment on our system or on our software is actually very high. So you do spend money, but you save an incredible amount of money and time at the same time.
That's an interesting point. I would love to understand a little bit more on the customer retention side. What all programs do you have in place to basically facilitate the retention factor, have a decent churn rate, all of those things happening, and better customer lifetime value as well as in months.
We've actually got a great customer retention metric.
Mhm.
And I think it's the nature of the product. We've got to get it straight. We do have a fantastic customer success team. And actually, one of the things our clients always mention, and we've had clients switching over from competition to us as well because of this very thing, they all really value how customer centric we are. And we definitely go out of our way for our customers, and where it's humans being there. There's always problems, right? Humans being there, solving the problem, understanding what more they would want from our software. And we're constantly developing it based on our customer needs. So I'd say that's the number one reason why we've seen incredible loyalty from our customers. And the other side is that it's the nature of the product. Once you've got your team onboarded and everything is in place, you're no longer collecting things on spreadsheets for onboarding and tax forms and payment details and worrying about compliance and verifications. Once everything's in a system, especially if you're constantly growing, that need for the system just becomes bigger and bigger. So you can't imagine your life without it once you've got it there. So I think those two things have been one of the reasons why customer retention and net dollar retention has been great for Talentus.
Gotcha. And Stephanie, what's the plan for 2024? What new marketing initiatives or trends you're excited about and trying to incorporate for this?
Sure. Yeah. A lot of different, like I said, we're constantly testing new things. We're constantly exploring things. I will say something that's relatively new for Talentus, and I'm excited about it, is the partnerships route. It's not something that we've really focused on before, but I do think, especially because of all the challenges that I mentioned before that are not specific to Talentus, but are specific to everybody, that costs are rising, marketing budgets have remained relatively, for most people, stagnant, but the cost of acquisition is increasing as competition is increasing. All of these challenges, I think, have made businesses on the plus side a little bit to try and find alternative routes to reach their customers. And I think a great way is partnership, right? Because you're not competing against all the software out there, and there's sort of great opportunity for synergy, for cross promotion, for businesses putting each other in front of their existing customer base. I think that's probably the best way to firstly reach your audience, reach a new audience if that's what you want to do, but also get your brand out there to relevant decision makers through a trusted source. So let's say system that they already use and is already providing value is then suggesting Talent Desk as well, for example, as an addition to that. So it's very new for us. We've recently reached a partnership with a couple of different platforms, and I think we'll be spending more time in 2024 exploring this avenue.
Okay, that's brilliant actually. Are you trying to reach out to these marketplaces, say, for example, HubSpot has its own marketplace, right? You can integrate multiple tools out there available. So stuff like that, or looking into still some SaaS tools out there which kind of complements your business are still on a moderate level with respect to the business and revenue that they're generating. What's the focus area?
Yeah, exactly. It's less integration focused, although that is also something that we were exploring, but it's more about the second option that you mentioned, basically finding tools that are solving a different problem, but for a similar decision maker. So in that case, we're not competing, but we could be complementary. Their software could be very useful to our customers and vice versa. So I think it benefits both companies, right? If you're not competing against each other and if you're both complementary, you might want to offer a discount to each other's customer base. I think that's a great way of basically of cross-promoting each other and getting in front of people through a trusted source, like I said.
Makes sense. All right, so we're coming to an end, and I would love to have a quick rapid fire with you. Are you ready for that?
Sure.
Okay. If given superpower, what will you choose? Would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or be able to talk to animals?
Oh, that's a difficult one. Animals, I think.
Okay. If you
Do I
could,
need to explain my answers?
yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I just love animals and particularly dogs. It would be probably a much better business skill to speak every language. I'm sure that would open a lot more doors. I think it would be quite life-changing if you could communicate with animals and if you could actually see how they think, what they feel. I think that would be a very eye-opening experience.
Do you have any dogs or pets in home?
Not myself, unfortunately, no.
Okay. All right. If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
What period?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to experience the 60s or the late 60s, early 70s. Not far on. I just think it was a very interesting time with a lot of change, particularly for women. That was the first couple of decades where women started exploring going to work and having equal rights, right to vote, and all of those things. So I would have liked to be part of that movement and that transition. And also, I think musically, they were fantastic decades with a lot going on and a lot of sort of music legends that I would have loved to see live in concert. So I think that's why.
Amazing. How many hours of sleep do you need?
Ooh, I'd say I'm good with 6 to 7 hours if they're good hours of sleep.
And if you could eat something for a week straight, what would that be?
Chocolate.
Oh, God. All right, coming to our very last question. What's your last Google search?
Oh, my last Google search. I probably Googled something to do with freelancer management because I'm constantly checking to make sure our rankings are as they should be or if there's something new. Sorry, that's boring, but that's probably the truth given that it's the work day. It's the end of my work day.
All right. Thank you so much, Stefani, for sharing all your brilliant experiences about the company, all the good initiatives that you've taken really well for you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time here with me. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.